Hello, and welcome to Theory in Plain English, How Reading Identities Influence Academic Literacy Development. This is the third in a series of videos about reading identities. The first video provided you with an explanation about the broader concept of identity, and more specifically reading identities. The second shared how reading identities are formed. In today's video, you will learn how reading identities influence academic literacy development. Recall from the first video that reading identities can be understood as how capable individuals believe they are in comprehending texts, the value they place on reading, and their understandings of what it means to be a particular type of reader within a given context. Remember that in the second video, we learned that reading identities are formed through students' experiences with reading in school, their understandings of the different reading identities available to them, and through the language they hear about reading and what it means to be a reader. Today, we are going to look at three primary ways that reading identities influence academic literacy development. First, by shaping how students talk about texts. Second, by shaping how students read texts. And third, by shaping how students apply skills and strategies when they read texts. Students with negative reading identities tend to limit their talk about texts. Because they believe they are poor readers, these students are more likely to be silent in class, speaking only when they are certain they have the correct answer to provide. Students with positive reading identities are likely to speak more. They will volunteer more often, share their thoughts, and ask questions, and they are more likely to take risks. Students with negative reading identities may attempt to read texts, but they may give up quickly if they have difficulties. Their history of reading difficulties may suggest they will not be able to succeed, and they may see no point in continuing. Additionally, students with negative reading identities may limit how they apply skills and strategies when reading. They are less likely to be mindful about how they approach solving comprehension problems, or may not try to solve them at all. Students with positive reading identities are more likely to be mindful about how they approach comprehension difficulties and select strategies they believe best fit the problem at hand. Remember, how students identify themselves as readers does not necessarily align with how they have been assessed. You can have students who read below grade level but who consider themselves to be good readers. In that case, you could expect to see these students engaging with text and being mindful about how they apply strategies. Conversely, you could have a student who scores as reading at or above grade level, but who has a negative reading identity. This student would be more likely to limit his or her talk and be less mindful about applying strategies to comprehension difficulties. The next video in this series will focus on what you can do to address students' reading identities in your instruction. If you are interested, I just released an ebook that goes into specifics about how to design lessons in response to students' reading identities. It's called Creating Reading Partnerships, and it can be found on Amazon.com. And for more ideas on how to apply current literacy theory and research to your classroom, check out my blog, leahall.wordpress.com.